Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. I'm Tom Vasel. This is our weekly Q&A, which is being done a day early this week. I normally do this on Monday, but tomorrow I really need to get a lot of things ready for the Dice Tower retreat. I'm almost ready for it. We have the library is done and is packed up, and but we have a few more things we need to go pull and just prepare for the retreat. The retreat starts Wednesday of this week. Although for me, the retreat starts Tuesday. There's a lot of stuff and set up and things to get ready on Tuesday, which means any last minute stuff needs to be done Monday. So that's tomorrow, which means the Q&A got pushed back to today. I've been spending a lot of time with the Dice Tower Library, getting it done, printing out books, putting in last minute additions. I think the very last game to be added was a second copy of Beyond the Sun. I'm pretty sure it was the last thing to be added in there. Or maybe the Quaxa Quedlinburg expansion, which just went live today. Either way, a lot of different things went in there. So welcome to Q&A. You can, if you have a question or something, feel free to ask it. And I'll answer some of the questions. Not all of them, of course. But I'll answer enough, hopefully, that will make a few people happy. So let's see. I don't even know how many people are watching. Just a few. Well, then maybe this won't even take an hour. All right, let's go on. How am I today? Good. How was church today? Good. See, so easy to answer these questions initially. I was able to do a few things yesterday. My daughter's birthday is today, actually. We've already celebrated it, the vast majority of it. She's off messing with the new stuff she got. She turned 14. I have only 2 children who are not teenagers left. So, 14. Wow, it seems like I'm getting older, which is true because Wednesday is my birthday, where I will be turning 45. So, more stuff here. In the MCU video, you mentioned being a fan of Sam Rockwell. Have you seen the movie Moon? I have not seen it. Maybe I will at some point. First impressions of Mythic Mischief, I enjoyed it, and that's about all you're going to get out of me right now. I might give them a quote. I usually wait for full-blown impressions of games after they are published, because who knows what will change. I had a good time. We enjoyed the game, but that's about it. Our goal when we play that game is to give you an idea of how it plays, and we try to make it look like fun, because we try to make every game look like fun. But we'll do the full review afterwards. I was able to get all the expansions for Quacks in the main box with a folded space insert. I've seen the folded space insert in action, and there's 2 reasons I don't want to use it. 1, I don't like some of the choices they made with that folded space insert. 2, it doesn't fit in properly. You have to really squish, and then even then, the lid is off a bit. 3, you have to Tetris it in there. It's really annoying. You have to look up to see exactly how those stuff fits in. I find a problem with that. And 4 is, over the course of the game, I would prefer to use containers to hold those pieces. And they don't fit in the box that way. So, whatever. I'll just keep the expansion in a separate box. Hello, what's the best way for someone who lives in Canada to interact with you and the gang? Well, aren't you interacting with me right now? I guess you're asking how to come to a convention. The fact of the matter is Canada's population is not too far off from the population of Florida. So there's not a whole lot of cons up there. I know Shut Up and Sit Down runs a con up there, and there's a few small or board game cons up there. I've come up to Canada a few times. So there's that. But no, we're not running a Dice Tower Con Canada. And I just realized I went out of focus there briefly. No, we just can't. There's just too much. I don't want to start another con at all, period. There's so much work to do. And the smaller retreats are a lot of work, and they're only for, a couple hundred people. But, man, I'm looking forward to this week. It's going to be so much fun. Are you playing any games on Labor Day? Probably not. Yeah, I get that. Clauses you have to cancel because of travel restrictions, and I'm so sorry about that. I know it's happened to more than a few people. But hopefully next year that will be a thing of the past. What's my favorite theme park and why? That's a good question. For this question, I'm going to take water parks out of the equation because I prefer water parks to theme parks just straight across the board. I don't know why. I just have a great time at water parks. I don't have to wait in line. I guess you have to wait in line for water slides, but I always go early. I ride the water slides I want to ride, and then the rest of the time I just goof off playing in the kids thing with my son, or playing, going in the roaring rapid, the river rapids, which I could go in all day long, or in the wave pool. So I love those. Of theme parks, I really like Universal Studios. And in fact, Universal Studios / Islands of Adventure, I like that much better than Disney across the board. I find the love of Disney. I mean, I like Disney movies and I like Disney stuff. And of course, I'm a big Marvel and fan. But I don't know. I think their theme parks aren't as good. They're also way more expensive. SeaWorld's a good park. Busch Gardens is fine. I guess Universal Studios. I've been to a lot of different parks in my life. So I'm sure some of these parks are fantastic. Go to that I'm not thinking of that I would enjoy. But probably Universal Studios. Did I watch 10 Rings yet? Yes, I'll be reviewing that in Board Game Breakfast tomorrow. Now that we'll do live. In which order do you recommend watching the MCU movies for a newbie? I would highly recommend watching them in the order they were released. The only exception I might do is I might watch Black Widow out of order. If only I would watch Black Widow, maybe. Actually, I might watch Black Widow and Captain Marvel out of order. Black Widow I would watch directly after Civil War. And Captain Marvel, maybe you could watch that before the very first if you wanted to. But the rest of them, I'd watch them in the order they came out. I saw your Small World video. You said you played the skeletons all the way through. The game I did that with, yes, I played through with them. And yes, I won that game. When you do a game review, do you watch a how to play video? No. Someone teaches you? Almost always no. Or do you read the rule book? Yes. In fact, I will sometimes decline a rules teach because if I can't learn it from the rule book, then I have a problem with that particular game. Now, I have used how to play videos. I've had people teach me, but I've also been burned by that a bit in the past. I want to know how well the rule book teaches you to play. For example, today I played a fairly popular game. Not a popular game, I guess. A game that's getting a lot of buzz. It's at Target. And the rule book wasn't that great. But I know that because that's how I learned the game. I don't really, Mike asked me about Ruination. I know Z likes it a lot. I would need to play it again. My initial playthrough, which was the only playthrough I've had of it, was the playthrough that we did, I think, live. We might have done it, I might have played it twice. I don't remember. At the time, I wasn't thoroughly convinced how much I liked the game. But I'm also not thoroughly convinced that it just might have been a situational thing, and I might enjoy it more. Sometimes you can feel that. You're like, I mean, I got shellacked in that game. So that may have affected my not loving it. So I might get it to the table and try it again sometime. How do you feel about riding roller coasters? I really like roller coasters, but I like speed. So I'm finding that the faster a roller coaster is, the smoother roller coaster is, I enjoy those a lot more. If it bounces you around like a wooden roller coaster, or if it spins you too much, those I'm finding as I get older, I'm not enjoying them as much. To be young. Rank the buy drink flavors. I don't know. I really like cherry, but the cherry flavor is not as good as I thought it would be. Probably the watermelon is my favorite buy. Blueberry's good. Coconut's good, but I have to be in the right mood for coconut. The mango one's good. But if I go to the store and I'm going to grab one because I'm thirsty, the watermelon is usually the one I'll grab. Excited for Retreat Wednesday. What's your biggest concern for the retreat this year? That everything goes right. We live in a world where anything can change at any given point in time. Love the MCU Top 27. Would you bring Tony or Steve back in the far future, or did they both have the perfect end to their storylines? They both had good ends to their storylines. I don't see any reason to bring them back. The only reason I would accept it is if there was an alternate universe one that showed up, or if it was a quick cameo, flashback thing from the past. I would be okay with that. But yeah, let's move on. We should. I keep getting asked what my favorite game is. I've done a top 100 online. You can just check it out. It's the easiest way to find out. I've never been to New Zealand or Australia. Sorry. If I play computer games, what's my favorite game? That changes at any given point. I mean, consistently overall for the computer, it's probably Civilization, whatever the newest one is. So Civilization 6 right now. For video games, it's Final Fantasy Tactics. And other games can go and, can get mixed up in there. What is currently being painted for the library? Nothing. Nothing is currently being painted, and that's because I had a hard stop. We need to get everything ready for the retreat. Once the retreat is done, then stuff will start getting painted again. So at the last second, before the retreat was done, my daughter finished painting. What did she finish painting? A Way of the Panda, and Wendy finished painting a lot of Arcadia Quest. I don't think Arcadia Quest is done, so we'll probably finish that after the retreat. I haven't decided what I want to start on next. I'm toying with the idea of Ankh. And this seems odd, right? Because Ankh has such great miniatures, but it also looks really decent unpainted. So I don't know if I want to move to a different game. I haven't decided what game will be next, but there will always be something. What happens with the prototype copies of games you get sent? So the prototype copies of games we get sent for our paid previews, our paid playthroughs. Sometimes they get sent back to the company. Sometimes I sit them on a shelf and I wait. And if I don't hear anything back, eventually they get broken down for parts or whatever. But usually they get sent onward to somebody else. For example, we just played the He-Man game this past week, and that got sent on to the next person. The Warhammer stuff that we get is still in a pile to be reviewed, and Roy is planning to look at some of it, and I might look at some of it at some point. What happens if one of your reviews is maybe influenced by a missed rule? Will you change something on your rating? I am thinking of the Dark Ages Foursquares review and the missing starting units. Well, first of all, I don't care in that particular case because the rule book that we had did not have those starting units in it. So that's not on the reviewers. That's on the players. I mean, that's on the company. So, sorry, that's how it worked out. Secondly, in that particular case, I think the game still is a really slow start. I did play with the correct rule. I was taught by somebody else when I played. So I did have those starting units, and I still think the game has a dastardly slow start to it, as if you were moving through the gel of time itself, struggling to break and get started. I had a huge problem with how slow that game started. But if we are influenced by a misrule, and that's happened a few times where I thought it mattered to change the beginning of the game, we've issued corrections or even sometimes have redone the review. But the folks who played Dark Ages talked about it, and I talked with them too. And honestly, that, yes, for sure, what they said exasperated it even more. But the fact is that the game still starts really slow, even if you do start with 2 units. All that really means is you don't use your first turn to build a unit. You do something else. What would you say your average rating is for games? As a reviewer, you play a lot more subpar games than us selective consumers. That I agree on. I do play a lot of bad games. But of games that I do actual full reviews of, my rating is somewhat high. Actually, I can give you that number. Let me pull up. Let me pull up my Board Game Geek account. And I can look at my profile. Now, I have not put in my ratings for games in the last 6 months because it's a lot of work. My average rating is 6.44. That's pretty high, actually. Now, that does include expansions. If I take expansions out, it's going to be different, but I don't know what it is. Um, but yeah, so the average rating is fairly high, but I still have 789 games that I rank a 5, which means I don't like them. 363 games I rank a 4, which means I hate them. 219 games in which I rank a 3, which means I despise them. 121 games I rank a 2, which means they should be burned. And 35 games I rank a 1, which means they should never have existed. And even this 1,670 games that I rank a 6, I'm not going to probably play most of those again either. So that's a good 33, 38, 41, 42, 43% of games I play, I won't ever play again. Now, if I include games that I just look at and go, no, my average would go down even more so. But sometimes you don't have to play a game to know. Have you ever eaten poutine, and how does it rank with you? Yes, I have, and I think it's amazing, and I do not understand why it is not an American dish. Or, I mean, I know it's a Canadian dish, but what I mean is I don't understand why it's not imported down here. Why can't I go to a poutine place here in Florida? It bugs me. When removing games from the Dice Tower library, what do you do with them? Sell, give to employees, etc.? Yes, that's exactly what we do. I sell, give to employees, etc. And in fact, we have, I would say, probably 3,000 games we're sitting on right now. We're going to be getting rid of several hundred of them at the retreat, which we're about to go to. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get rid of more in the future. But at either Dice Tower West or Dice Tower East, we're just going to offload so many of these games. Someone's asking me about Aircon. I have no plans for any conventions next year. I'm not saying I won't do any conventions, but right now, I'm doing Dice Tower West, Dice Tower East, the Dice Tower Cruise, and the Dice Tower Retreat. Maybe. I don't have any other cons planned. We might go to Gen Con. We might go to Essen. We might go to UK Games Expo. We might go to Aircon. We might go to whatever. But nothing is set in stone except for the Dice Tower cons themselves. We'll see. Is Marvel Unite worth $12? It's worth more than that. Goodness. You can't even get a meal at a fast food restaurant for $12 sometimes. Let's see. Disney Plus has a great in chronological order viewing list. I don't know that I would recommend watching them in chronological order either, though. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's okay to watch them a little bit out of chronological order. Has Dice Tower considered a retreat or con in the Midwest, such as Chicago area? No, we haven't really considered that. It just, when you host something, it's easier to host it in your backyard. So we're doing one retreat in Miami, and then we're doing the other retreat in Orlando. And even the Orlando one, the fact that Orlando is 4 hours away makes it more difficult to do. The retreat itself is 40 minutes away. Okay, if I forget something that I need from the studio, I can go back and get it if I have to. But, once you start doing more than that, it's more problematic. I have not played the Pharaoh expansion to Ankh. I don't know anything about it. In fact, I don't think I backed it, actually. So, what's the latest new hot sauce you've tried? I don't know, actually. I have a place here in town called Robert is Here, and I really like their hot sauce, so I just use that most of the time. So far, where would you put What If in your MCU ranking? I don't know. I'm going to wait till it's over before I finish it, before I rank it. Let's see here. I'm going to quick open up YouTube here. Sorry, everybody. Just give me 1 second here. Got it. All right. Excellent. All right, let's see here. If you traveled a few thousand miles to go to Dice.con and scratch that entry, and your main goal is to play games, what would you recommend, to retreat or regular, east or west? Oh, if you're just going to play games, well, it doesn't really matter. The games are going to be good at all of them, honestly. The retreat is a very high level of play. People there all love games, so there's that, and there's nothing else going on. If you want to see Vegas on the side, west is there. If you want to see Orlando on the side, east is there. But honestly, they're all good. I would recommend whichever one's closest to you. Is there a contest? You know what? There probably is. So let me pull it up and look. So, contest. I have a document where we keep all this information. This is a contest for a $10 gaming gift certificate from Game Nerds. That's Game Nerds with a Z at the end. Fantastic website. I check them almost every day. They have a daily deal. They offer cheap, quick shipping. It is great fun. And if you're looking for a game we talk about, they're a good place to find it. If you have if you would like to enter this contest, you simply need to email us at contest@dicetower.com. And in the subject, put the words Labor Day, LABOR, space DAY. That's an American holiday happening tomorrow where we celebrate work by not. So put that in the subject. In the body, put what is your favorite job you've ever had. And we'll pick a winner, and that person will get a $10 gift certificate to Game Nerds. All right. Just a wash and Ankh will also look great. Yeah, I thought about that. I haven't decided what we're doing yet. Well, I shouldn't say that. We did paint some of Ankh. My daughter painted all the little plastic counters because when they weren't being painted, I didn't think they looked that good. If you go to a water park, what is your favorite water slide? I don't know that I have a particular favorite water slide, but my favorite water slides are always the ones you ride with other people in like a big raft together. Those are just fun because I get to do those with my family. What's my favorite Jim Carrey movie? Off the top of my head, probably Liar Liar. Better two-player games, Scythe or Viticulture? Maybe Viticulture, but honestly, I would just go find a really good two-player game. Are Horrified and Alien Fate of Nostromo different enough to justify owning both? They're very different. They're cooperative games. That's the only thing about them that's the same. Do you like having music in the background when playing thematic games? Indeed. In fact, just earlier today, me and my children were playing It's a Small World, and so we played It's a Small World in the background. Now, of course, that was shorter than the length of the game, and so I played it twice, and then we stopped because of sanity reasons, and then I started playing Disney World theme park music, which was fun. Off top of your head, do you know the game in the library you have ranked the lowest but remains in the library? Probably Diplomacy, because I hate Diplomacy. But I know that a lot of people like it. Although I've actually upgraded Diplomacy and with some upgraded bits if people want to play it. Do you ever miss Pledge Manager closings? Yeah, I think so. It's easy to miss because I just get swarmed with updates and I ignore all of them. There's just so many updates. It's really easy to miss like a critical one. And I know people love constant updates from Kickstarter. I am not one of those people, which is why I don't update my Kickstarter as much because I do again, I always do what I like. So and what I mean is like I put out the kind of reviews that I would like to watch. So I do the kind of things that I don't send as many updates because I don't like getting tons of updates. I know that people love the updates, so there is that. So I guess I'm in a minority, but man, there's just so many of them. How do you store playmats for the library? That is a good question. And I think the best way to answer this question would be to show you a picture. So give me a second. I need to find the picture. I think it's on my phone, actually. Give me a second. Getting there, getting there, getting there. There it is. All right, there's the picture. So I will airdrop it here to my computer. And then we'll show you all. Let's open it. And if you all don't mind, I'm actually... I just realized, okay. There we go. I'm going to drag this on the screen here. All right, here we go. So this is one of 5 racks that I have. So in each rack, we have these tubes, and you can see them here. This is rack C, so we have C1, C2, C3, C4, explosion, C5. And then when you get a game, it will say, uses playmat C8. You'll go find C8, and you open it up and pull it out. So next to the library, we're going to have 5 of these stands. Now you'll notice that some of the tubes are higher than others because some playmats are longer, and one of the tube racks, rack D, is bigger than the rest of them. They're 4 inches diameter. The rest of them are 3 inches diameter. Most playmats fit in a 3-inch diameter as opposed to a 4-inch one. So there you go. Do you sometimes use game as a decision maker in our family? I can't remember doing it. Will Mike ever be allowed to explain his very questionable MCU ranking choices? Next time Mike does his Q&A, you guys are welcome to ask him about that. That's what I would do. I know you often donate a large box of games for Jack of Ass Memorial Fund and auction on Board Game Geek. Do you decide on what's going into that box before you get to know how high the bid gets? No, but the height of the bid doesn't mean anything. We already know what we're planning to do, sort of. And once the bid's done, we get a big giant box and fill it with games. And we do what we can. We stick all kinds of cool stuff in there. So far, the winners have seemed happy. It's always very clearly less than the value that they bid. But the money's going to charity. How do you differentiate between kids and family games? I feel that kids' games are geared towards children. Family games are for the whole family. It's the direction that they were made in. Does everyone in your family share dog care responsibilities? Ish. I make everyone walk the dog. My wife cleans up after the dog in a lot of ways and feeds the dog. And I and my daughter do most of the training of the dog. So, yeah. Do you ever buy games with your own money? Yes. If not, how do you ensure it doesn't affect your review? I don't. And in fact, I would argue that spending money on a game actually will likely affect your review more than if you don't spend money on it. The fact that you don't spend money on reviews is probably good for reviewers, right? Because the game comes in and we review it. We do a good job. You might say, yes, but, and this is always the but, okay, well, let me rephrase right. Someone will say, yes, but if you get if you give it a bad game, then that company might not send you any more games. Oh no, they might send me more bad games. Now I get it. This is an argument that can be made maybe on people who are first starting out. Your first game you get in, you get it for free. It's hard to swing around and do a bad review on it. And in fact, there are some publishers who kind of say, hey, you didn't like our games, we're not sending them to you anymore. And that's happened to us. There's at least 4 publishers who don't send us games because we've given them more bad than good reviews. That's reasonable. A couple of those publishers, I still hunt down the games and we review them anyway, because our goal for reviewing is towards you all. So if you buy a game, you're more tempted to think it's good. You know how I know this is true? Because whenever I review a big giant Kickstarter and I review it negatively, the people who back the Kickstarter come in there like crazy. Some of them fine, I could be wrong. It's an opinion, of course. But that shouldn't affect how people look at the game. So I'll say clearly from my end, unequivocally, whether we buy the game or not has no effect on whether we like the game or not. So there's been a lot of talk about this recently, and I don't want to turn this into a whole thing because there's different channels talk about it, and it comes up all the time. And I don't know how to get people to understand. Just look at our channel. We've done so many negative reviews. We've done scathing reviews. We've done scathing reviews on people that we're very good friends with. We've done scathing reviews on games that we did paid playthroughs for in the past. And if that doesn't convince people, I don't know what does. Then people read into that. They're like, well, you did it. You picked a smaller game to do a scathing review on. It's like, what? So there's no way to win at this except that we know we have integrity. We know that we don't allow our relationships, advertisement, or the fact that whether we paid for a game or not affect us. So we don't. We ask you to trust us. And if you don't trust us, then I simply ask you to don't watch the channel. I don't mean that to be negative, to push you away, but why would you watch someone you don't trust? We are going to do our best. We have nothing. I mean, if we gave good reviews to games that weren't that good, then people would stop watching us because we would lose all integrity. There are a lot of reviewers out there who only review games positively. And I don't mean this, I'm not talking negatively about them. What I mean is some of them, if they don't like a game, they don't review it. And that's fine. You know, I can understand that because the response to negative reviews is not particularly pleasant. But the reason we do it is because we're trying to help you out. We're trying to say this is a good game or not. And in fact, sometimes a scathing review from me will make people like the game. And I'm thrilled about that. If you say I'll like the game, if Tom doesn't, that's fantastic. So, yeah, that's just where it's at this point in time. Let's see here. I bought a bunch of pants hangers, says Michael Heller. I used to use the pants hangers, but it got to be problematic for finding the things. I would say there's a play mat in the library, and then it was hard to find. I think the pants hanger thing also, some mats would hang down really low, some would hang high. This solution that I'm using now, I am really in love with. It's a little bulkier to transport and stuff, although I figured out a sneaky way to transport these mats, which you'll see if you help me unpack the collection. But overall, this is the happiest I've been with the playmat situation. Once an expansion is released, do you ever go back to the base game? Depends on the game, and yes. There's a lot of games I play without the expansion. In fact, the expansion I reviewed today, the Quacks of Quedlinburg expansion, I liked it a lot. It was fun. After playing that expansion, I had a chance to play Quacks again with somebody else, and and I played without the expansion. Oh, I'm not telling you Ruby and Violet's favorite games because that's coming up in the future where they're going to do a top 50 games of all time. What and when is the next group top 10? You'll have to wait and see. Do you have a picture of your Aquatica playmat? I was hoping to get one, but I understand if it's unique rarity. Yes, I'm showing this to you. Now, I want to be clear that this is a one-time thing only. I asked the company special permission to get this so that I could do it for the Dice Tower Library. They're not selling this or anything, so this is for the Dice Tower Library itself. So, once again, I shall drag something here. I had to shoot it off my phone. It's picture day. I think it's going to be sideways, since I'm sorry if it is. Yeah, it was sideways. Can I rotate it? Let me see. I don't know if I can rotate pictures here on Ecamm. No, I can resize them, but I can't rotate them. Well, anyway, I was taking a picture. The bottom one is the board, and the top one is the playmat. The playmat actually came out looking better. I was so amazed by it. So I'm very excited about using this playmat. So if you're coming to Dice Tower Retreat and you want to play Aquatica, yay. When can we expect to see the Thanos Funkoverse review? A couple more weeks before that one comes out. Is there a 3D printer in the table behind you? Well, no, it's not 3D. It's a laser engraving machine. So I actually brought it home to mess with this weekend and have not got a chance to check it out yet. But when I'm done with this Q&A, I am going to start messing with it a bit. Is there a list of games that will be available at the retreat? There's a sort of list. If you go to Board Game Geek and look up DT Library, that's a list of games. Not every game is on that list for one reason or other. Not every game has made it onto that list. I have a Word document which has the complete list in it. And that one is correct because I had people go through and check it off the games one by one. I couldn't imagine Hasbro sending games in for review, but they just did. So who knows? You never know. Let's see here. Bad Black Sheep, have you any wool? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full. What's the next upcoming trend in board gaming? I don't know. If I could predict the future, I'd be rich. Did you see that post on Reddit a week ago where a guy had hundreds of board games just stacked up in their garage? Isn't that lots of people? I guess I missed this post. I don't know what we're talking about. Do Violet Ruby count as reviewers for purposes of giving out seals of excellence or approval? No, they're women, and we do not allow women to do that. Obviously, that would not affect it, their gender. So what would affect it? Their age? You need to be 18 before you give out a seal of approval, kid. No. If someone is a reviewer on the Dice Tower, and I let them put out a review, a video review, I'm saying it's good enough to be put on our channel, then they're good enough to give out a seal of excellence or approval. So yes. And I hope that if any of my children decide to take up a reviewing mantle, which I do not know if it will happen, so if it doesn't happen, I'm fine with that. But if it does happen, I hope they surpass me. And if one of my kids ends up running a channel that smashes the Dice Tower into the ground, well, hopefully it would be the Dice Tower, not someone, alternative. But that would be amazing. And I'm glad I wouldn't have stopped them when they were younger. Can you explain how the game exchange event will work at the retreat? You're excited about that. I am too. So I might call it the prize table. So everyone gives a game in. And we put these games on a table. And then everybody will turn in their badge. And I'll take all the badges and we shuffle them. And then I'll say, all right, here we go. Number 1, John Smith. And John Smith comes up to the table and picks off any game they want. And we keep going. Once we've gone through everyone's names, there will be more games on the table. I know there will be because I'm adding some. So then we'll start in reverse. So the last person, let's say the last person is Elliot Jones. I'll say, Elliot Jones, take one. Now take another one. And then we go backwards. And that's how we do it. If you bring a spectacular thing deemed by us, then you get shuffled in the top part of the pile. You're definitely going to get a top tier choice. So keep that in mind. But we'll take all the games that people have put and brought in, and we're going to put them on a table, and you'll be able to look at them ahead of time. So you can kind of get in your mind what you would like to get. Do not come in here expecting to drop a small game off and get a bigger one, and then get mad when you don't. Don't come into it expecting to get something amazing. If you want a something amazing game, if you're looking for something very specific, then buy it. This is just for fun. It's always worked out well in the past. You know, trading Pandemic Season 0 and Shrink for a used copy of Dixit would be disheartening. Then don't enter. Look, again, I don't know how to emphasize this. You'll never be satisfied with these 100% if you're just going in to get something cool. If you want something good, then now don't get me wrong. We're not going to let junk be put on the table, but there's going to be good stuff there for sure. What is that blue toy on the table behind you? That's actually one of my son's favorite stuffed animals. That is the Game One Knight from Game One Games. They make the Tiny Epic games. And they gave me one of these knights one time, so I gave it to my son. And so that knight thinks he's better than he is. That has nothing to do with Game One Games. But I give all my the stuffed animals for my kids. They all have very specific personalities. So that knight thinks he is the coolest, but he is not. Makes my son laugh every time. How do you feel about Kickstarters when it's gamed with tons of extra expansions? I always feel if it's good, why is it not in the base game? But I might not be able to get it later because of Kickstarter exclusive. Just don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. Back what you want to back. I'll tell you this. When it comes to these games with lots of stuff, when I look at them and I back them, I don't back them for everything anymore because whatever. You know, I hope the base game's good. I might do physical upgrades because I like cool components. You know, if they have that. If there's a play mat, I might back that. I might back, one expansion maybe. But frankly, if the expansion is amazing, spectacular, and it's rare, then they'll probably reprint the thing in the future. Just, if you worry too much about that stuff, you're going to have a miserable gaming life. Warning, keep eye protection on. Keep the laser engraver away from the dog. What did you think I was going to do to my dog? Right, I don't think Hasbro's scared of getting negative reviews because they know negative publicity is still publicity, for sure. If I was a company who made games, I would send them the people who get the most views, even if that person hated my games. Because publicity is publicity, and it talks about it. Why is it important to have a large library rather than do a bring-your-own board game for cons or retreats? Just wondering. Well, people can bring their own board games, and we fully expect people to bring their own board games. But we want to offer an incentive and say we have great games for you to play. You want to have a full library because if you count on everybody to bring in games, groupthink, there's going to be some hot games that just aren't there for whatever reason. We also tend to have games. We have games in our library that people won't think of to play. There are several games on my shelves that I'm going to introduce to people at our events. I always do every year. I'll be like, hey, I bet you never played this. And I know I'm right. They haven't. Then they play it and it's fun. They might not even ever go pick it up again, but we had a good moment in time. And then we also like to have hot games. You want to play Beyond the Sun, Ankh, Dune Imperium? I know those are all very hot right now, and that's why we have 2 of each of those in the Dice Tower library. We also have cool games in the library. Marvel United. It's a fun game. We have all the expansions for it, and everything's painted. It's going to be fantastic. So that's why we have the big library. You can still bring your own board games, but we want to have something, a base that you can play. I've been to a lot of conventions, and I've been to conventions that didn't really have a gaming library, and you play with other people's games. It's not as good. There's a couple reasons for that. Now, those people, I just was at the Gathering of Friends, and one of the guys who comes there brought in a ton of games. He said, as long as you take care of them, play with them. And we do. We take care of them, we play with them. But he doesn't make an index of the library. They're just some games. He doesn't have everything. But beyond that, if I want to play someone else's games, then I have to go find that person. And then I go up to them and I go, you mind if I play this game? And maybe they do mind, maybe they don't mind. But it's a little awkward. Having one central library makes it easier for everyone just to say, I can play these games at least. Also, not everyone can travel with a lot of games. What's the single most expensive upgrade for a game? We looked at the Sleeping Gods boards we saw in the unboxing video on Etsy, and wow, those are nice, but wow, those were pricey. Yes, but man, if you come to my convention, you might consider playing Sleeping Gods. It's really pretty. The most expensive, that's up there for sure. Those boards I got, they were fantastic though. Some playmats, maybe. Getting stuff painted is easily the most expensive upgrade for a game. What's the retreat? The retreat is 200 people getting together to play board games here in Miami. It starts this Wednesday and goes to Sunday. We start Wednesday at 10 a.m., although likely earlier, and go to Sunday at 9 p.m., although I can see people playing after that. 24 hours. It never stops. Now, I'm assuming there's a period of time between 4 and 6 where there's not many gamers in there, or any gamers in there, but always there, people always playing games. And so this one is, I mean, you could email us if you're like, I suddenly have this week free. I think we have a couple spots we could let people come in on, but unlikely. You'd have to email me very soon. But we do have another one coming up in Orlando, and while it's technically full, we're likely going to add more spots to that one, so you can get on a waiting list. So if you're interested in that, just email us at Kenny, Kenny, at dicetower.com. What's the most spectacular addition anyone ever made to the Game Exchange? Well, realize we've only done the Game Exchange. Have we done it twice? I don't know. I don't know if that might happen. Some people brought in full pledges of stuff from Kickstarter for the Game Exchange. That's pretty cool. I've been at Game Exchanges before. I'm trying to think of the coolest thing I've ever seen. Someone put on that Small World Deluxe version. I saw that at one of them. That was pretty impressive. As far as upgrading game bits goes, do you think the producer of the bit should seek the publisher's approval? It all depends. If I'm making upgraded resources that can be used in multiple games, I don't need to seek anyone's approval for that. This is an upgraded wheat bit. It can be used in lots of games. I could even say it could be used in Agricola. That's not a problem. It's the same as someone who makes, nice upgrades for a car. They don't need to go ask Ford, can I sell this new and improved thing? If you're using the game's art assets, that's different. That's a very different thing because art is protected. So you do need to get their permission. And if you want to say the official whatever to a game, you need to get their permission. I might ask, but if it's a generic piece that can be used in multiple games, you do not need to ask the publisher's approval. Is there ever a full hour in your day, not including sleeping, in which you go without thinking about board games? Yes. I'm not that crazy. Like today's Sunday. I think the first time I thought about board games was, well, this morning I played some games with my kids before church, but like at church and stuff, I'm not thinking about board games. And when I'm with my family, I'm not thinking about board games. We had a meal today to celebrate my daughter's birthday, and we didn't talk about board games. I didn't think about them. We did a what if, or no, would you rather. This is something like a tradition that the Vasel family does sometimes at meals. Would you rather? And I just ask, like, would you rather Live without music or live without TV, and then we talk about that. In your non-biased opinion, if I could go only one board game convention, which should it be? Mind you, I've never been to one before. My non-biased opinion would say, where are you from? What are you looking to do? Because there isn't one perfect con. If you like to relax and eat and play games, it's the cruise. If you just want a game and nothing else, it's the Dice Tower Retreat. If you want a game with a small exhibitor room and maybe see some sights of a surrounding area, then Dice Tower East or Dice Tower West. Dice Tower West registration live right now. Come on out. It's going to be amazing. If you want to see a humongous spectacle, then you want to go to Essen or Gen Con. But it all depends on what's near you. You live in St. Louis, you might want to go to the Geekway to the West. There's great cons everywhere. When can we expect a review for Chief Sokotoa's Gambit or 1808 Year of the Chief? First of all, both of those, not real games. Chief Sokotoa has declined any game based on him. I know this for a fact. Hasbro offered. Now, just to clarify, I know some of you might have think I mispronounced Hasbro, but Hasbro is from Earth 647924B, I think. Anyhow, they came real hard. I mean, in fact, there was blackmail involved, and it was a whole stream of things. But after 63 deaths, 42 injuries, and 5 stubbed toes, I'm not joking, stubbed toes much more dangerous to the people who live in that world, they finally backed down. I was actually part of that whole situation, and it was kind of annoying, but it made us laugh. And whenever people tell me that Hasbro is evil, I'm like, oh, they don't know about Hasbro. But it's hard to explain. You get it. Can you donate multiple games for the prize table? I'm not going to give you multiple entries, though. You can donate multiple if you feel cool and you just want to have more stuff for people to pick from. But you're not going to... You might get multiple games back, but you're not guaranteed to get them. Any must-dos while I'm in Miami besides games? Not particularly. I'm not a big Miamian. I mean, if you have time, you might want to go to Bow Harbor and ride the boats there. You might want to go to a Cuban restaurant while you're here and eat the delicious food there. You might want to go to the beach if that's your thing. If you have time, you might want to go to the Everglades down where we are. But I know I'm not really selling Miami much, but whatever. We're doing it for the games. Are you going to get a Sunday nap in? I very rarely take naps on Sunday. So, no. Also, it's almost 5 o'clock, so I'm not. It's a little too late. When I am done here, I'm going to build that laser engraver and see how that works. And then my kids are doing something when they get home. I think we might watch Avengers Infinity War. Well, it's time to see the big ones. Did you or any of the others end up trying Ankh without the merge roll? Well, I played 2-player, and that didn't have the merge in, so I enjoyed that. But no, not without that. I don't know if I will ever, actually. Maybe. Could you build a worldwide Dice Tower presence with events and such? You're sorely needed in Belgium. It would be so difficult for us to get to Belgium. I would like to do these sorts of things. It's very expensive. I just registered for Dice Tower West, says Mickey. Hooray. I hope you enjoy it. When I say I hope, I know you'll enjoy it. What's the longest period of time you've gone without playing a board game in the past 15 years? I'm sure I've gone a week or so without playing a board game. Maybe. I just grilled some corn on the cob. It's my favorite way to eat corn. What's your favorite way to eat corn? 100% agree. Grilled by far. In fact, it's a big thing here in Miami. If you go to a fair or even sometimes on the side of the road, they have, grilled corn on the cob, and it's always overpriced, and I always buy it, especially if they cover it with Parmesan cheese afterwards. Oh, so good. So good. Let's see here. Are there any play-focused cons in Europe? Sure, but don't ask me what they're off the top of my head. I don't know. I don't keep track of all the cons. There's so very many of them. But I would ask people. I'd go to Board Game Geek. I'm sure people would know that answer. Is the Pledge Manager still open? Maybe. We will probably keep it open till right before we ship. But since shipping now has been set, I would imagine we'll close it soon. How did the Wargaming room come about for Dice Tower West? You know, I don't know how that worked out. I think they contacted Tim, who runs Dice Tower West, and he set it up and everything. So, hooray. I'm glad. Wargamers need a place to play just like everybody else. Thanks for the chill content. I like when people say we have chill content. That's good. Would you consider going analog and do the quiz? I don't know what that means. Do you store your Dixit stuff in one big box or separate it? At the Dice Tower Con, we have a special box for Dixit cards that you can use for all the games. I mixed Dixit with Mysterium. Was it Mysterium? Yeah, Dixit with Mysterium, with Muse, with Detectives Club. I mixed them all together. We put sleeves on them, and they're in a big box. And if you play one of those games, you just take this big box full of cards, and you can use it with it. What am I reading on Marvel Unlimited at the moment? I'm currently reading Heroes Reborn. I don't actually know what's going on, so I'm trying to figure out what the first issue is and what's happened there. It's something to do with if the Avengers didn't exist. So it looks like they're doing every 4 or 5 years they do what if everything is different, you know. So did you spend time in Korea? Yes, I was there for almost 10 years. It wasn't for the Army. It was for teaching purposes, and I loved Korea. I don't know what I think about the new Witcher board game yet. What are your thoughts on the game top or tabletop editions? They're fantastic. What happened with the tattoos you guys were getting? Don't worry, still on the docket of things to do. We were going to get them, and then with the cases of coronavirus on the just rising a bit, we said, all right, let's wait till that calms down a bit before we go out. We're all vaccinated here at the Dice Tower, but still, we live in a very hot area in Miami, but we're going to get it done. We're just waiting for the right moment. Wait, did I catch up on questions? Well, how convenient is that? Have I ever played a Mega Man like Shut Up Sit Down did a few years ago? Yes. I enjoy those a lot, but they take up a lot of time. Can you count up the number of flip, roll, and writes you own and like? No, there's a lot. Although I will tell you, for the Dice Tower Library, a roll and write game or flip and write game has to be really good to make it in, because honestly, you don't need that many of them. And I know for a fact that conventions, people don't play them that much at a convention. They'll play a few, and they'll especially play the ones that have a lot of, oh, you got to try this one. It's different. It's amazing. It's fun. But for the most part, most of them aren't going to get touched at all, especially when there's so many other games around. Any plans for Funkoverse draft this week? Actually, Funkoverse is still not in the Dice Tower library. I have a ton of Funkoverse sitting in these boxes, and I still don't have a good way to put it into the library yet. If there was a Dice Tower themed expansion, cards, characters, etc., based on all of you to a game, what game would you want it to be for? I probably wouldn't. I don't want us to be in a game. I want a game to be good. You know, I don't want a game to feel anachronistic with us being in it. I don't mind the background stuff, but I don't know that I would put much more into it. What about a new? Was that Fuzzy? Yeah, that was Fuzzy that you heard. Someone must have knocked on our front door. What about a new show explaining background behind all the dice people? The dice people are just different people on the show. Sometimes they're not anybody. What age were you when you really started seriously playing board games? I don't remember. 2, 3, probably 5. Who knows? Do you have a con schedule set for the coming months? Well, yes. For the rest of the year, I already know what our con is for the rest of the year. So we're doing Dice Tower Retreat, packing it up, and flying directly to Gen Con. Come to Gen Con. Have a great time with us. We're doing a show there. We hope you like it. Then after Gen Con, the next thing we're doing is the Dice Tower Retreat in Orlando, and that's in November. And that's it. That's all we're doing this year for the Dice Tower. There's just too much expense and everything into the other cons. Jess, I hear you're making fun of Frank for watching me. I approve of that. And because he asked me to ask you to play more games, I think you should not play games with him for a while. Make him learn how to ask properly instead of using somebody else. Boo. I did play Batman Talisman. I have tried it. It's terrible. Like, terrible. How did you guys come up with your kids' names? I don't know. We just picked names. I always pick names of things that I remember as a kid. Amy. Okay, so Melody came because I like the word melody. I like singing. I like music. So that's what her name came from. Amy came because that name stuck with me probably from Little Women / Little Men. Holly, I like Christmas seasons, so that's where that came from. Violet, I just like the name Violet. Ruby, I just like the way that one sounded. Same with Clara. Those just, there's nothing special behind them. Jimmy, I picked because I thought Jim Vasel was a nice, snappy name, and a little bit of homage to Jack Vasel. So Jack Vasel I had originally picked because a snappy name. I'm Vasel, Jack Vasel. So same thing. I'm Vasel, Jim Vasel. His actual real name is Jim. It's not James, because I figured if he gets in trouble someday and he has to write his name down, you want as short of a name as possible. And I'll tell you, for me personally, I wish my name was Tom Vasel, because I'll be somewhere and they'll be like, Thomas. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's me. Nobody calls me Thomas now unless I'm in trouble. Alrighty, let's see where we at here. I have not tried Regicide. I might get it if I get a copy of it. How many solo board games have you played this year? Some. Not a ton, but some. I'm looking around. I got Tainted Grail. I need to play through that. I got some Gloomhaven up there. So I got a couple solo games sitting around, but I don't know how many I've played. If you had the opportunity to get something else to things you do not enjoy in day-to-day activities of running Dice Tower, what would it be? Oh, my word. It would be answering emails, making schedules, handling salary, doing taxes, day-to-day stuff. Oh, man, if I didn't have to do that, I would get so much more done. Crossbows and catapults. Is there a newer version available? Well, there's a new version of it coming out. There's also a version of it which I have sitting on a shelf somewhere here. So it's called Catapult Kingdoms. Me and my son play this sometimes, which is why it's here at home. And that is a nice, happy sequel to Crossbows and Catapults. But don't think I haven't noticed that time has run over. So I'm going to end it here. Thank you for those of you who took time out on your Sunday to join me. I hope you have a fantastic day. I will see you all tomorrow morning for Dice Tower Board Game Breakfast at 8. We're moving it up an hour. It's early. And again, that's because we have a lot of work to do for the Dice Tower Retreat. If you're coming to Dice Tower Retreat, I look forward to seeing you It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fantastic. For those of you not coming, don't worry about it. We still got lots of content coming your way. You'll barely notice that we're gone. So until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.